the homework. Was there any questions on the first one? This one was just using your inflation calculator. It doesn't have months, so that's up to you what you wanted to use. I would probably, because it's going from 2003 to 2007, use January. You could even use January here and December here, or you could have used any of them. It didn't really matter. Is there any questions on the first one?
What does it mean when it says which number is the most appropriate?
Okay. When you look at the values, because it will go up. Depending on how accurate you want it to be. If you notice, well, let's just do the problem because it'll be easier to explain. Okay, it's when you switch. Okay, it's not switching. Stop there. Google Chrome. Where does it keep going?
All I see is a gray screen.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. So right now you're just at the regular screen, right? Everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So then share, and we want Google Chrome, which is this one. And it keeps going to,
Oh, oh, never mind. I
now you
saw it for a second. Oh, now it is. I see it now.
that says that's my Google Chrome, but that's wrong. We're just talking about technology. It will not.
I see it.
Can you see it now? Oh, it's
Yeah.
up at top. I have two screens for some reason. It's split up here.
Uh,
Oh no. Okay. We'll go from up here. We want the inflation. Okay. So you can see the calculator, right?
yeah.
And the first one was $1 from 2003 to 2007. Now, what months did you use? Anyone have a preference?
I just did January and December.
Okay, so we'll leave it January and December. So we go from January 2003 to December 2007. 116. And what was it? $100 and then 10,000. So you do the same thing with a different amount. So 115, and then if you make this 10,000.
Yeah, I got those numbers too, but I'm just like wondering like what it means by which number is the most appropriate.
Mm-hmm. So once we found these, it had said to find the inflation rate. So then we would find the inflation rate. So you use your calculator to get the numbers. Then using the inflation rate, here we get 16%. Remember, it's old minus new minus old divided by old.
Oh, okay. I got confused. I forgot what that inflation rate meant. The relative percent change.
There you go. Yeah, inflation rate. Anytime you ask for inflation rate, that's relative percent change. So then we
Do we have to show that formula because we already did the 100 versus 100 and we got 15.59%?
exactly. You wouldn't have to show it.
Okay.
Yeah, when you use 100, the inflation rate is right inside there. So you can do it in your head. You're just subtracting 100. The same thing with the 1. It's right there. Now this one will be you get 15.5949. Now all of them are correct. This one, notice if we round it to a whole percent, we get the 16. It depends on how accurate you need to be. I mean, this is going 2 decimal places, and it's accurate to 2, because notice the 9, there's a 4 after it, so it would stay if we were going 2 decimal places. I think the 100 is a good approximation, because it's already going 2 decimal places.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But you could have different answers.
Okay.
I think that this is rounding a lot. Now, if this was 99, then maybe it wouldn't matter. But it will all be your opinion. Once you find your relative percent change or your inflation rate, explaining which one would be better or more appropriate, it all depends on your situation. And so there's no wrong answer.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Most of these will at least need 2 to 5 sentences. Some of them you might be able to get 2 sentences. Most of them should be a paragraph. I got 13.3. Were you getting 13 here then? If you use different months, that could have happened. If you, I was just checking, if you use the January, you should get a what? Oh, May. That's fine. When you're doing these, make sure you put the months so I know why they're different, and that's fine. Keep your answers. Yeah, I get 13.32 when I use May. So if you use different months, that's fine. Put your months in your sentences. That will help you use up some sentences. But that way I know why it's different. That way I remember that it'll vary. But is there any questions? How would you explain it? So you would explain what months you use, and then that using a dollar, it's only rounding to a whole percent, whereas when you use 100, you're rounding 2 decimal places, and so it's going to be more accurate. But maybe using 10,000, you don't need to go that many decimal places. But I would think in most cases, you would need at least 2 decimal places. Any questions on that? So the higher this went, the more accurate the percent. In most cases, percent accuracy, 2 decimal places is good, so you really don't need to go this far. Any questions? Okay, number 2.
I have a question. Will number 1 only need one sentence, or will it need a paragraph?
Wait, repeat that.
Will number 1 only need one sentence, or will it need a paragraph?
Well, unless it's a very long sentence, like to explain everything, I think you need more than one sentence.
Okay, thank you.
I think you can do it in less than 5, but you do need at least 2 or 3 sentences. No,
Unless you have like terrible grammar and use like a million commas like I do.
that's true. Like all these run-ons, but cut it down. That way you can explain more. Now this next one, you would definitely have to write a paragraph on the last part. So if you wanted to just put it all in the last part, your sentences, you can. Like show your work for A and B. And then for part C, write the paragraph including all your answers from A, B, and C. Okay, so if I look at, sorry, my dog. In the 1880s, many young women in large cities worked at home sewing clothing. They were paid by the piece, hence the name piecework. For this type of labor, a pant stitcher would be paid about 12.5 cents per pant, and she could generally finish 6 pairs of pants, or 16 pairs of pants a week. working from 8 a.m. till dark. So she's working from 8 a.m. to dark. We want to find her hourly rate of pay in 1880. One second. And tell my son to shut the dog up. Okay. So what was her hourly rate in 1880? A couple ways you could start. Yes, the calculator only goes to 1913, which means we need to use a different calculator. So first we want to find her hourly rate in 1880. Well, we know she makes 12.5 cents per pant, and she makes 16 pants per week.
So 16 divided by 7? Or are we doing 5-day work week?
Well, that's another thing that depends. They probably did not work on Sundays in the 1880s. Maybe not even on Saturday.
So then it's 16 divided by 5, or?
You could do that. 16 pants is 1 week.
So she did about 3.2 pants a day.
Yeah.
I didn't write that right. 1 week. Okay. How about hours in a day? If she worked 8 a.m. to dark, what's dark?
What time of year is it?
True. Usually dark is somewhere between 5 and 7, right? So
Yeah.
we could go in the middle and pick 6.
That works.
Yeah.
That way it's kind of an average depending on when it is. So we'll say 6 p.m., which is 10. I think, yeah. So 1 day is 10 hours. So that would give us, the only thing we need to do is put the change in there. Notice our weeks cancel, days cancel. We have hours. We need to get pants. 1 pant is 12.5 cents. So by using the proportions, it's a little easier to make sure we have what we need. We had pants per hour, if we calculated it, and we wanted the pants to cancel. So now we have cents per hour.
So we divide those then?
I was going to take the 3.2 pants a day, which is 16 divided by 5, and I was going to divide that by the 10 hours.
And then multiply by the 12.5. So we'll multiply the 16 and the 12.5 and divide these two. The order you do them in, it doesn't matter. You could have divided by the 5 first. Someone had mentioned that it was a 7-day work week until the 1930s. But that's okay. Just keep that. And you can even put that in your paragraph. There's nothing wrong with if you went 6 days or 7 days. And there's nothing wrong with if you went less hours or more hours. Just show all your work. I got 4 as my answer. That's what I got too, 4 cents an hour for this one.
Wait, I took 16 and 12.5. I multiplied those and then I got 200, and I divided that by 10, and I got 20.
Oh, be careful, you lost your 5 here.
Oh, oops, sorry.
That's okay. That's why we're working them out together.
So I got 0.32 pants an hour. That divided by the 12.5 cents per pants gives me 0.02, so 2
okay,
cents
but
an
that
hour.
should be multiplied. If you're getting 0.32 pants
An hour.
each one of them, you get 12.5 cents, so they should be multiplied.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then you'll get your 4.
0.32 times 12.5.
So do we have to write a whole sentence for this one too?
Okay, so what you could do, it's up to you how you want to do it. You could write a sentence here, and then a sentence here, or when you have to compare, you can put it all in that, so then you can get your paragraph easier. So for part C, where you're comparing, you could put A and B. That would be 2 of your sentences right there.
Okay, thanks.
So this would be 4 cents an hour, assuming she gets paid for all the progress of her pants within an hour. Because, I mean...
Well, yeah. She makes approximately 4 cents an hour. We're assuming she finishes 16 pants every week. If she didn't, then she's not making that. But assuming 16 pants per week, she makes 4 cents an hour. Now, depending on what your numbers were, don't change your answers if you have all your steps right, just different values here. Like if you didn't go to 6 o'clock, if this is a little different, or if you use 7 days in a week, that's fine. Don't change your answer. Okay, part B. Using the inflation calculator, convert 1880 wages to current wages. Current. So 2020. Because nothing's going to have 2021 yet. Okay, now if you, let me bring our inflation calculator.
So would we take 12.5, put that in the inflation calculator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or no, we want the 4 cents, not the.
Oh.
Yeah, because we want the price per hour. So you want to use the 4 cents. But if you look at our inflation calculator, it only goes to 1913.
Yeah.
You need to use a different inflation calculator. Okay, I don't know how to research. There we go. This one here, westegg.com. It has a nice calculator. It's very user friendly. You could have used any one. If you use a different one, it's fine.
I got for mine about $1.02.
Yeah, it was something like that. I got $1.09. But if we put, what was that? %. Now this doesn't let you do pennies, like 0.0. You can't do this. That is only use numbers. So we're going to put our amount, even though it's going to tell us dollars, we're actually assuming cents. And we wanted to go from 1880 to 2020. So remember now that 4 in there, they're going to talk about dollars, but it's actually cents. When you click it, it tells you 4 cents in 1880 would be 108 cents in 2020.
So $1.08.
Yep. So that calculator that I used was called West Egg. But you could have used a different one. It's just when I tried different ones, this one seemed to be the most user friendly. So it was 4 cents, which gave us this. Now, if we put this in dollars, 108.81. Oops, I need to go on. I don't know. My decimal should have been here. Okay. So it would be $1.09. Remember, this is pennies. You move it over to get dollars, or divide by 100. So if they were making 4 cents an hour in 1880, they would make $1.09 per hour in 2020. Any questions on that? It is awfully small. 70, 77 cents, depending on what you use here, it could be. Or was that for the inflation calculator? And that's why in part C, compare her hourly rate with part B to the current minimum wage. So you want to search for the current minimum wage, and it's up to you. And in your paragraph, you can write whether you use federal or Ohio, or if you live in a different state and you want to use its minimum wage, definitely, that's fine. Just make sure you state that in there, what minimum wage you're using. Anyone have a specific one they want to use?
Let's compare to the national wage.
Okay. And what's the national wage? I think it's 7.25.
7.25, I do believe.
Yep, 7.25. So there's a big difference. Currently, our minimum wage is 7.25. And inflation-wise, they would only be making $1.09. So we're definitely above inflation from 1880 at least. But you would just, depending on which one you choose, compare it to the $1.09. So then you can write a sentence about this. In 1880, they made 4 cents an hour. using the inflation calculator, they would earn $1.09 per hour in 2020. So there's two sentences, and then a couple more comparing these two values.
Yeah, when you say compare, do you want the difference?
You could find the difference, you could find the relative percent change, and say how much it's off. Yeah. Any questions on that?
Wait, so using the inflation calculator, wait, in 1880 they would make 4 cents an hour, but using the inflation calculator,
We
they
got $1.09. So part B, we use the inflation calculator. That's how we got that answer. And then for the last two sentences, you want to compare these two. You can find absolute change, relative percent change. And talk about how minimum wage is above the inflation rate, at least in this section from 1880 to 2020. But there's sections inside there, which you'll see in another problem we do today, that we didn't stay with minimum wage. But in 1880, they were making so much less that about. Ohio is 8.8. That's right, $8.80 if you want to use Ohio.
So,
the federal minimum wage means that they cannot go below this. Each state can have their own rate as long as it's not below 7.25.
so if they were to continue working that job with no raise above minimum, they would be $6.16 off of the current minimum.
Yep. Per hour. That's a lot. Any questions on that one?
You said $6.16 minimum wage above or below the.
What they did was find the absolute change. Just subtract them. Any questions? That's correct. A lot of them just go with that, so then less work. But the other thing could be that the cost of living in those states are so low that technically they'd like to be below the 7.25, so they just go with the 7.25. California is higher. It's high. It's like $11 an hour, but the cost of living is so high there. 7.25 just isn't going to make it, and so that's why some states just go with the 7.25 because the cost of living is so low there. They're going to go with the basic value. If the cost of living was more, people would argue, and they'd probably have to raise it. The cost of living is done by what they do is they send out surveys. I don't know if anyone's ever done. They have different. Netflix has them. I think of the other ones now. I've had Netflix send me one, and some kind of music one sent me surveys. And so they send these surveys out to so many people in the United States. The Census Bureau does it. And you fill out everything you do, everything you purchase. So house payment, car insurance, gas, electric, down to eggs, milk, water, everything you buy, you have to put down individually and keep track of it for an entire year. And then they take all of that, they gather it each month. And they take that, and that's how they find out the cost of living each month. some of those calculators only go by the year. Most of them go by the month because they calculate it per month. So they see how much overall Americans are spending, and then that's how they find it. Down to the last cent, exactly.
Basically, it helps you to have like just a couple of really big spenders and that live in really nice houses in your area. So it brings up the average cost of living. So the rest of like, I guess the normal living situations are easier to pay
Yes,
for.
that can happen. My brother is moving. He lives in Cleveland. He's moving back to Boardman. Well, he wanted Boardman. And the one house he looked at, the property tax was $12,000 a year just for property tax. I live maybe 4 minutes from that house, and my property tax is $3,000 a year. So just because the development looks so much nicer, they think that they can make it sky high. And so, yeah, that does mess up things, but I think the Census Bureau tries to make sure they get a uniform amount of people who are at a higher pay scale and a lower pay scale. That way they're getting that better. But they also can look at the price of items. They don't have to just go by what people are purchasing. They can look at the cost of gasoline, which seems to fly up and down like crazy. The cost of cars, the cost of a house. Right now, cost of houses is really low. Unless you're building them, it's really high. Any questions on that? So if you're thinking of buying a home, now's the time. If you're thinking of building a home, you need to wait. Because people
Capitalism.
make more in California, so they think they can make the price higher. Demand can bring prices up or down also. I could go to Sparkles and find it at one price, and go to Giant Eagle and it'll be 40 cents more. So it's just what they find their customers will spend for it.
Maybe the milk in California is just more fancier than the milk here.
Maybe the bottle looks prettier. I don't know. It's because that's what people will spend, and so they'll keep putting it up. And if you needed business calc, we'll talk about it in business calc. But you keep putting that price up until people quit buying it. Then you know how much they're going to spend. And so they do a lot of statistics with that. The business calc class would cover it more. So then you find out how much people will spend in a certain area, and that's what you put it at. And then if it's not selling, you put it on sale. So if you want to make $11 an hour instead of $8 an hour, you can move to California, but you got to remember milk's going to cost a lot more, along with everything else.
So, can I get an online desk job now in California from Ohio and get paid the same rate but not be taxed as much?
As long as it's going to stay online, you could. Right now I have 2 classes I teach at Appalachian State, which is in North Carolina, and they pay $300 more per credit. Although I'm still living in Ohio with my Ohio bills. Now I got to see what's going to happen with the taxes. Don't know how that's going to change. So gas in the area is $2.30, but some of my friends in Ravenna and Akron are paying $2.50. Yep. You know what's amazing? Sometimes in Boardman, gas will be like $2.30, and then I will drive down Market to go to YSU, and you'll find it for $1.99. So,
Well, kind of a ripoff.
so we drive drive to Youngstown. I mean, it's only maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but we will drive down there to get our gas because it's so much cheaper. Any questions on that? No? Number 2. Number 3. Working for minimum wage. Figure out the annual income in 2007 dollars. So that's telling us to use the inflation calculator. For someone who worked a minimum wage job at 40 hours per week, or 50 weeks in 1975. Now, a couple things you can do. You could find the minimum wage first in 1975 and then use the inflation calculator. Or you can find the total annual income in 1975 and then use the inflation calculator. Any preference? I found annual income first and then did it, but we can do it either way.
So do we just look up like what the minimum wage was in 2007 then?
No, in 1975.
Or oh, okay.
We will look it up, I think, in 2007 for Part B.
Oh, okay.
We could look them both up right now, but that would be Part B.
Okay.
We'll put A, and we'll put B. So what is the minimum wage in 1975? So use the history of
I looked on that. I looked on the link that you sent us with all the minimum wages and all that, and I found $2.10 on January 1st, 1975.
Yep. Switch gears. I think that's what we were using before, huh? Maybe. Okay, everyone's seeing the $2.10, and it started in January, and it was the whole year, so it's 210. Do I need to bring it up? Is everyone seeing the 210? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're making 210 per hour. We work 40 hours a week for 50 weeks. How much are we making in a year? You just use proportions.
Are we using 50 weeks for the year?
Yeah. Probably holidays, you get a couple weeks in there. So it's just 40 hours a week for 50 weeks. If you're using proportions, this was per hour, and then the weeks cancel, and it'll leave dollars per year. You're getting 4,200.
Yeah, I got 4,200.
We're making 4,200 per year in 1975. We want to find out what that is in 2007 dollars. So use your inflation calculator. Now it's up to you which one. I like to always use this one when possible because it's the one your book uses. And we're putting 4,200. And we go January 1975. And then January 2007. You're getting 16,317 and 60 cents. Now you could go with January, or you could go with December. I wouldn't go with something in between, but if you want to go so that it ends the whole year, you could do that. Notice they're a little bit different. Either one is fine. But if we went at the end of 2007, we'd get 16,931. Did you go with December or January?
December.
Okay. So if you went with January, you have 16,300. If you went with December, you have 16,931. So if your inflation calculator, if you use January and then December here, you're going to get this value. Use different months, that's fine. Your number's just going to be a little different. But it's going to be 16,000 and some. It shouldn't be that far off. Any questions on that? So according to inflation, if you made this much in 1975, you should be making this much in 2007. Any questions on part A? And again, you do need to explain, so you could just write it all in one paragraph. Any questions on part A?
So it's a paragraph long, our explanation, or
Wait, repeat that?
it's a paragraph long?
Yeah.
Oh,
But I would put A and B together, one paragraph.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Because this would just be a sentence, but since part B says to compare, I would just keep it for part B, write one whole paragraph.
Can I see the paper again?
So, oh, I didn't go back.
So, if according to inflation, you're making 4,200 in 2005.
You're making 16,931 in 2007.
Thank you.
So if you made $4,200 per year in 1975, this is what you should make in 2007 if it follows inflation.
Okay, thank you.
Now, part B, compare this answer to someone working the same amount at the minimum wage in 2007. Has anyone looked up the minimum wage in 2007? What happened with minimum wage in 2007? There's two different values.
It's like 585 in 2007.
Well, but notice I didn't start till July. So the first half of the year you were at 515 and the second half you're at 585.
Oh. So it stayed at 515 until July 2007.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does everyone see what that means? Like here, notice it didn't change until July of 2007. So up until then, you were only making $5.15 an hour, and then after that, you were making $5.85. So the first half of the year, you made $5.15. The second half, you made $5.85. Now you could have used the first, but we're going to, at least in my explanation, I'm going to use both. Now, two ways we could do it. We could do, because it was 50 weeks, we could do 25 weeks at this amount and 25 at this amount. Or since they're almost halfway, we could just find the average of the two and then go with that for our minimum wage. Because half the year it's this one, half is this one, then
I would do the
whole
average.
year, you could just do the average. So if we find the average first, when you're finding the average, you add them together. And divide by 2. So if you wanted to find your average hourly rate, because it changed halfway through, you made approximately $5.50 an hour. You want to find the hour or the yearly rate. You set it up just like this one, but instead of the 210, it's 550. It's 40 hours in 1 week and 50 weeks in 1 year. So our 550 per hour will be getting 11,000.
That's what I got.
Now notice this one, we are definitely not with the inflation rate. So from 1975 to 2007, with inflation, we should be making almost 17,000, and we're only making 11,000. So minimum wage from 1975 to 2007 did not stay with inflation. So there's a big difference there. There was and I don't remember what year it was where they caught up. But it is a big difference. So you want to compare those for Part B. Part B says to compare what we found here, the 11,000, with what we found in Part A. So you want to compare these. So first, write your sentence from Part A in your paragraph, and then compare the two.
So for the explanation, it should be for 1975 to 2007 with inflation, they should be making 11,000 per year, or is it 42,000?
According to the inflation calculator, they should be making 16,000, but according to minimum wage, they're only making 11,000.
Okay.
So minimum wage in this case was not keeping up with inflation.
So then minimum wage for 2007 did not keep up with inflation.
Yeah.
That's for A.
I would put the two together. Just write one paragraph. So show your work for Part A and your work for Part B, and then write one paragraph. I have 3 kids in school, and they say to fill out the lunch form, for the family of 5. But if I was making what value they need you to make in order to get like the food and things like that, I don't even come close. So I don't know how anyone could make it on what they have. I think it was like 40,000 a year with a family of five in a house. I don't know. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, sorry, I was still writing. So, would this be accurate? Min wage, according to Part A, should be 16,931.88 cents in 07, but the actual documented wage is 11,000 for a 40-hour work week in a year, which is 5,931.88 cents off what it should be.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is. Somewhere in this year range, they realized how far off it was, and there was like it was $1.50 more an hour or something. Because I remember I couldn't wait to get that paycheck, and it was amazing how much more it was. But they were supposed to catch up with inflation. So there's a jump somewhere. I just forget. I'll have to look it up and see which year it was. But any questions on that? I remember when I was in high school, I got paid $5 an hour to tutor people in math. So it wasn't much. It was more than the minimum wage. Okay. There are 4. Yeah, I do have. I wasn't sure what I was sharing. I want to double check. On March 31st, 2008, in the New Yorker, David Owen wrote that you'd earn less than the federal minimum wage if it took you longer than 6.15 seconds to pick up a penny. Use the information in the quote to figure out the minimum wage when Owen wrote the article. So he wrote the article on March 31st, 2008. If it takes 6.15 seconds for 1 penny. Should we keep it in cents or should we do dollars? I think that we're going to be multiplying and the number is going to be bigger. So we will have to get to dollars, but that's up to you. We could stick with 1 cent first. 1 cent. We're finding minimum wage. Minimum wage is in hours. So instead of cents per second, we need per hour. We need to convert it to hours. What can we do to convert it to hours?
Seconds to minutes and the minutes to hours.
Yep. So 60 seconds and a minute. Which one goes on top?
Seconds goes on top.
Yep, because we want them to cancel.
So could you divide 60 divided by... Oh, you're going to do it with the... I have troubles with the ratios. I usually just do it
You can
with
just
my
divide.
head,
As
but...
long as you divide the correct way, it'll work out. And then we want to go 60 minutes and 1 hour. Now again, this one, you have to explain at the end. So if you want to find A, B, and C and then put it into 1 paragraph, you could do the 60 divided by this and then multiply by this 60. In either case, you should get $5.85 an hour. So when he wrote this article, minimum wage was $5.85 per hour. Any questions on that? The next one says, check Owen's arithmetic by comparing your answer to the actual federal minimum wage at that time. So we want to use the history of minimum wage and see if it's the month March of 2008, if the minimum wage was $5.85. So he said 1 penny every 6.15 seconds. Was the minimum wage in March of 2008, $5.85.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it only 36 on the top instead of 3600?
The penny. Oh, I guess I had made it dollars. Sorry. When I multiplied it, I changed my penny to dollars. Sorry, if you got the 3600, the reason I had 36 was I had 0.01 here when I calculated it earlier. So this would be in cents. If you kept the 3600, it would be cents, which 585 cents, it's easier to change to dollars. $5.85 per hour.
So if
Do
you
we have to
multiply
show
by
our
the penny, then you'll get the dollars.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
do we
So
have to show our work moving a decimal?
No. No. When you're, I had done this in my head and automatically made it dollars. And so but if you found cents first, then you have to divide by 100 or move the decimal to get dollars. So was the minimum wage in March of 2008, was it 5.85? Look it up.
Saw on the minimum wage chart on it says it was like 6.55 on July 24th, 2008.
Right? But this is March.
Oh.
So March would be before that, which means he was correct with the 5.85.
Oh.
So that's another thing they wanted you to see in this one, that as of March, it was 5.85, but then in July of that year, it changed to 6.55. But the 5.85 for March was correct. So for another sentence, you could put in your paragraph that the minimum wage, according to the history of minimum wages in March 2008, was 5.85, so David Owen was correct. Any questions on that one?
You said the minimum wage in March was 5.85 because
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I didn't change my page. Yeah, it's 5.85 because of the history of minimum wage says so. Let me go back to my paper. I keep forgetting that it's not going back.
it's okay.
Part C. How much time could you spend picking up a penny if you wanted to earn the minimum hourly wage today? So, I'm going to use the 725 because that's what we used in the other problem. That way I can keep my answers uniform. If you
So
use a different one, that's fine.
based on the wording, if you took longer than 6.15 seconds to pick up a penny, doesn't that mean at minimum, as long as you pick up a penny within 6.15 seconds, you would make minimum wage?
You would make minimum wage here, yes. But they said
So you
current
could say
hourly
that.
wage today. So we have to use
Oh,
today's minimum wage.
okay.
So you're kind of taking minimum wage and you're going backwards. We said minimum wage, the federal one was 7.25. And then we wanted pennies. So I'm going to change this to pennies first. We're kind of working backwards. I'm going from this to pennies. So 725 cents in 1 hour. I changed it to pennies because we want to find out how many pennies we need to pick up. We want to change hours to seconds. We know 1 hour is 60 minutes. And we know 1 minute is 60 seconds.
I put 725 over 3,600.
Yep, that will work.
I put 0.002 over 1 second.
Now this 0.2, that's cents. It's part of a cent, 0.2 of a cent to be exact. We need to get this to a penny. Is there any questions on getting to this part first? Okay, so this is 0.2 of a penny. How can we get it to 1 cent? What can we multiply 0.2 by to get 1?
5.
Mm-hmm. And when you're multiplying with a fraction, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Just like when we did the primes, it was such a small value, we need to multiply to get it a little larger. And so to get 1 cent, I need to multiply by 5. So I have 1 cent over 5 seconds. So every 5 seconds, you need to pick up a penny to make the current minimum wage. That sounds like a little too much work. But if you can find a penny every 5 seconds and pick it up, you will make minimum wage.
Kind of crazy thinking like you could go and walk through a parking lot and pick up like a couple quarters.
Yeah, there you go. That would be, then you could take a little break.
If we just spent the whole day picking up coins off the ground, we'll get rich.
And good exercise. Any questions on that? So then just do like your work. So for this one, really, all you have to say is minimum wage March 28th was 585. But then you could put the sentence in your paragraph that would give the sentence. So there really wasn't any calculation in Part B.
So if we just write individual sentences for each one of those, do we still have to write a paragraph, or can we?
Well, this one says compare, or did it say compare? I don't know. Yeah, this one you could actually, if you want to put the sentences, you can, but you really only need 3 sentences.
Okay.
Because it doesn't say compare. Whenever it says compare, I expect a paragraph. But this one doesn't, so 3 sentences, whether you put it with A, B, and C or all together, that's up to you. Any questions on that? Any other questions on any of the homework or the co-rec? I think the co-rec was just, there it is. Yeah, it's just finding $100 from the year you were born. So use the month and year you were born, and then December 2020, and find what that would be. Then use absolute change. When you find relative percent change, remember that's the inflation rate, how much inflation has gone up since the day you were born, and write a paragraph about it. So you'll use the month and year you were born, and then December 2020, and see how much it went up. Then absolute change, relative percent change, remember that's your inflation rate. So it's telling you how much inflation went up since the day you were born, and write a paragraph about it.
When I go into your Blackboard and click the minimum wage chart, it doesn't come up.
What about on the, like in this problem here, it doesn't come up, or on the main page?
On the I clicked it on the discussion board.
It should. Sometimes, depending on the computer, you might have to copy and paste it.
Hold on, I clicked like the main one. It's loading. I'll see what it says.
Okay.
It's not even loading.
I know people turned it in, so it should.
It said site can't be reached, which I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. And even when you just bring up chapter week 4, so it won't work here either.
Yeah, if I go to week 4 and if I click the inflation count or calculator, it comes right up. If I click the other one, the minimum wage chart, it doesn't even load.
You know what, maybe because of the HTTPS, maybe take that part off and just type this other part in and see what happens. Like when I click on it, it doesn't go right to it, but it brings me this, and then I can click on it. I'm not sure why it doesn't just go straight to it, but it does do that. And then,
Yeah, I took off the I took off the HTTPS. It still didn't do it. It's just weird. I mean, I'll find a chart if I need a chart.
I used my phone to get on there, and I got on there fine.
Yeah, it's not opening right now for me, but it opened earlier today because that's what I used. Oh, of course. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing that. It worked earlier today when I used it. There it goes. And now I clicked it and it worked. So I don't know. But if it's not working, copy and paste.
What I did was like I went on Blackboard app on my phone, and then I went into the chapter 4 discussion board, and I clicked on the link for the minimum wage chart there, and it took me there.
Okay. Yeah. Because it was just freezing for me too, but then it worked. But yeah, you might want to just take that beginning part out, like copy and paste.
I have a quick question. So for question 1 on the chapter 4 homework, why is it why is why are the answers different? Why is it 16% difference in the increase for $1, and then it's 15.59 for 1,100. I mean $10,100.
Because it's rounding. When we only put $1 in, okay. When I copied and pasted, it went real quick. So if you take off the HTTPS, try that, copy and paste it right into your link, and it should come right up. For the other question, when we put in $1, it only goes 2 decimal places because it rounds dollars and cents. So then when we find the inflation rate, it's only giving us a whole percent. Whereas if we go further, then we're getting more of the decimal.
So then the 110,000 will be accurate.
Exactly. So then the more zeros you put in there, the more accurate it's going to be. Now it depends on how accurate you need it. Usually you're going 1 or 2 percentage points. So I think the 100 would be used the most. I don't think you need to go that many decimal places for the 10,000. But that's your opinion. Like explaining it is up to you. But yeah, by putting in a larger amount than just $1, we get more percentage points. A little more accurate. Any other questions? Okay, so for the quiz, there is 4 questions. 1, you use the inflation calculator. 1, you use the history of minimum wage. And then there's a multiple choice and a true and false. 4 questions. There's not really any work, so there's no link to add work for it. So it should not take very long. And if you want, before you start, have the inflation calculator and the minimum wage up. Any other questions? So the same thing with the test next week. If you want to already have the link for the minimum wage and the federal and the inflation rate up, you can have those links up ahead of time. Any other questions? Okay. If you do not have any questions, I will see you on Friday where we will have a group assignment. And then the following Friday is our exam. So I will put up an outline this weekend and we will review Monday and Wednesday. Any questions? I will see you on Friday. Have a nice day.
Thank
You
you.
too.
You're welcome.